A lot of women think that choosing to stay in a relationship is the hard part. It's not. The hard part is what comes after. Because you can decide to stay and still feel disconnected, still feel hurt, and still feel unsure how to actually rebuild what has been broken. So the question becomes, if I've chosen to stay, now what? Let's get into it. So last week we talked about getting out of maybe, the space where you're half in, half out, and you're analyzing, questioning, holding your emotional baggage packed at the door, and making a decision. Am I staying? Am I going? But what doesn't get talked enough about is what happens after you decide to stay. Because nothing magically fixes itself. Oftentimes it's really, really messy, actually, because you've had this great big blow up. Or maybe it's just been quiet inside yourself. Maybe you've just been thinking about it on your own and coming to this conclusion. But still, you don't just proceed as usual because you're just going to get the same thing, that end result. You don't suddenly wake up the next day in this blissful, connected, romantic dream marriage. If anything, sometimes the discomfort feels even more real because now you've taken leaving off the table and you're left with, okay, now I actually have to build something here. I have to make the most of what I have. And oftentimes it feels like it's shambles. But I want to give you hope because it's beautiful that when you learn these tools and you apply them, even after you fall off the wagon or you have situations in your relationship where you say like, I don't know that we can continue like this. I don't think that's going to work. And it's okay to have those because it makes you reevaluate. My husband talks about it's re-upping. With his military background, you have your 4 years and then you get to re-up or you get to get out. And and he often says like that's probably what marriage should have to you have to have a renewal. And every year you have to come to the table and decide like, hey, is this working out? What do you need? What do you need differently? Is anything to negotiate? Are you done? Am I done? Anyway, it's very contractual. That does not sound very romantic, but it is an idea. So when you are deciding to re-up, you you have tools to work with that will actually make it better, not just make it more of a mess. I think it's really important to start here because if we don't get this clear, we end up chasing the wrong things. So here's the question. What do we actually want as women? And yes, these are also human things too, but I'm specifically speaking to women here. We want to be seen, witnessed, chosen, cherished. And ultimately, we want to feel safe. Emotional safety, safe relationally, safe even financially. And I know that word safe can bring up a lot, but if you really sit with it, when your relationship feels solid and when you feel secure in his love, everything else in life seems lighter. This is a a story to share. I remember when my husband and I were dating, and we dated for a very short time before we got married. And I used to say to him, as I'd hold him and look deep into his eyes and say, I would be happy with you in a cardboard box. And I meant it. I really did. Because when you feel that connection, you feel like you could do anything, right? You could be anywhere, you could go through anything as long as you have each other. But then, we all hit rough patches. And then I remember him throwing it back at me, saying, well, hey, seem not so happy now. What about that whole cardboard box thing? And I had to sit with that because I wasn't lying when I said it. I wasn't. But the truth is that the cardboard box with connection, that feels like an adventure. But a cardboard box without connection, that feels unbearable. And honestly, even a mansion without connection can feel like a prison. So when that connection breaks down, and honestly, that connection is our life force. It feels that way. It feels like a life force for us because we are so relationally wired as women. True, we need to be secure in ourselves. Our husband isn't our legs. This is how I used to see it. Is I used to think that I wasn't okay unless I was attached to a man. I couldn't survive. I couldn't do anything. And now, deeply biologically, that is true. That is true. That how we operate biologically, we rely on the protection and provision of men. That they keep the territory safe so that then we can soften and relax and grow life and create and nourish. This all makes a lot of sense. But oftentimes in this modern world, when we are not wired correctly in our idea of what fulfillment and relationship is, when we have codependency, which is something that I have struggled with, that oftentimes it feels like we need a man for oxygen, right? That we need him, otherwise we will be lost at sea with nothing to hold on to. That is certainly how I had felt. I don't know if you might have felt this way before. I also recognize that as a lie, that we deeply need to understand our wholeness as individuals, and that when we are coupled together, the light just gets brighter. That is not the source of our light, but it certainly enhances it. Our marriage isn't our only source of joy or purpose or, you know, life oxygen, but it makes everything better. That's the whole reason to be together, right? That's the whole reason we've through this time that my husband and I, particularly these last, 2 months or so, where it has been rocky over here. And now we are in this beautiful state of repair. And I want to be honest about that side of things as well. Because it's not just a magical switch and say, oh, just joking, not getting divorced. All better now. Everything's fixed. There are no issues. That's not it. And I know I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but I want to be very reflective here that honestly, when I when I when we decided to come to turn towards each other again, and he initiated that, which I am so thankful for, which typically what I have learned from other female coaches and what I have witnessed in our marriage earlier, it's generally the woman who reaches out, says, I'm ready to make a change. Hey, I'm sorry for all the ways that I have, pigeonholed you or not treated you correctly, and I want to do better and be the woman that you deserve, and I want to be a great wife, and start making those changes yourself, taking responsibility for your side of the road. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But typically, we as women can turn a relationship around simply by implementing those things. But what I'm so humbled by and so delighted by also was at this point, I mean, after again, I kind of feel like, well, I did all this other work, and now I need him to take one for the team. Like, come on, meet me over here. And he did, and it was beautiful. When you're both facing each other, working, and now you're meeting each other. It's that connection, that's restored connection. Okay, I see you. I hear you. I am here for you. I love you. I care about your happiness. and it's going both ways, that you're both in that direction. That is when that's when you can actually start talking about those other issues and coming to solutions because you're not bringing your scorebooks with you. You're not bringing your weapons. Everything is laid down and you're coming towards each other in peace and in love. This is where I think a lot of times it's just really hard. And sometimes this is why couples say when they are in distress relationally, it's like there's been too much damage done, too much history between the two of us. It would just, I can't forgive that much. He can't forgive that much. We just need to cut it off. I could see that. I can. But what if you don't want that? What if we exercise grace? And I mean, I know he has exercised so much grace for me. And I want to exercise grace for him as well. One of the most helpful frameworks for me has been this idea. It's of your side of the street. This is something I learned from Laura Doyle and her books, The Surrendered Wife and The Empowered Wife. They're both great books. So, your side of the street, or our side of the room. Like my sister and I, we shared a room growing up. And at one point, we literally drew a line down the middle. Actually, I think it was like masking tape. And went right down between our twin beds. And sadly, the door was on her side of the room. So that was always a quandary. But we would point to each other like, see how messy your side is? Or you have this thing wrong over here. But what if my side was a disaster? What leg did I have to stand on? And it's the same in marriage. It really is. You you can't clean up his side, right? You can't. It's not your responsibility, no matter how much you wish you could. But you can't, and you cannot control his behavior or his growth or his timing. But you can take radical ownership of your own. And this is where it's so exciting and fun because this is where we have power. We have all the power of ourselves. So that alone, when we take radical ownership of ourselves, that alone changes everything. And this is a piece that I think is missing in so many conversations, is that if you're going to repair, you have to soften, putting the weapons and the scorebooks down. And I know that word, it can feel very vulnerable. Oh, it's super vulnerable, especially if you don't feel, if you have felt like you haven't had your cup filled up by him in such a long time, or even if you feel like maybe there's just been lots of attack. This is where, let's put a pin in what I was saying. This is where behavior can look like, sound like, whatever, abuse. And I want to treat this really carefully because I know this is very, very hot in here. But I was really, when I learned this, I was really struck by the truth of it. Because right now, in our culture, it's so popular to claim abuse. Oh, I'm being abused. I'm being verbally abused, emotionally abused, whatnot. But oftentimes we are not asked to look at ourselves. And this isn't a woman who is beat deserves it. This is not that conversation. That is not anything I agree with. But I would like to shed a little bit of light on the ping pong game of what often is occurring in an abusive situation. I'm putting air quotes up. You can't see me. If you are, I have 6 children, and my children have been driving me crazy lately with, I'm now studying lots of parenting material because they won't stop fighting. And it's redonkulous. No matter how peaceful I try to be, no matter how much soothing music I put on and home baked goods and whatever, somebody is finding somebody to nitpick or complain or get irritated about. And it is just meh, 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 all the time. So when my child comes up and says, he hit me and I wasn't doing anything and blah blah blah. Like, oh my gosh, let's talk about it. And so you talk to child B and you say, hey, you hit him. And they say, yeah, well, he was doing this, that, and the other thing. Like, oh, okay. So you were both doing something to each other that was not okay. How am I supposed to adjudicate this? I do not know. And and that is oftentimes what is happening in our relationships, is it not? We Somebody says something snarky. The other person interprets it as a personal attack when maybe they thought they were just trying to be funny and they didn't realize that it was coming across that way. And that wasn't their intention, but it came across that way and it did damage. So instead of people softening and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Are we good now? Really, that wasn't my heart to hurt you." Instead, we're knives out, right? And we're, oh, and then this, and then this, and then this, and this. And it goes back and forth. And honestly, if we were to look at our behavior, if our husband went to a counselor and said, my wife, this is what she says to me. This is what she does to me. These are the things that I deal with. And that counselor might say, honey, you are married to an abusive woman. I know this might not be very popular at all, but I would like to hold a mirror up to because this is my situation too. This happens because we are human and we are not always the nicest people to each other, despite how much we love each other. Sometimes we act like kind of jerk faces. And oftentimes when we have our scorebook out and we're tallying up all the hurts and insults and everything, we might not be recognizing our side of the street. How have we been? And that's not to say we have to be perfect so that because we are also accountable. And that's the thing, accountability. We are also accountable for how we act and what we say and what we do, even what we think. These are all parts of our personhood. And as much as it's nice to expect to be married to a perfect person, that's not reality. So, this is not covering mental illness, which is not to say abandon your spouse if they're mentally ill. That is not to say that, but it is to say I understand that there are some things that being a nicer person, a softer, more surrendered wife, a more agreeable or compliant or anything like that, that none of that's going to fix the real issue because the issue is with someone's brokenness. And don't we all have brokenness? So just covering all of this with grace, that I hope that this speaks into your life in some small way to be able to give more grace to our men instead of holding them to such a high standard and I'm speaking this is my case too, expecting my guy to be way up here, but holding myself to a lower standard of behavior. That's not fair. That's not fair. And that's not love. So I wanted to talk about that, about as we come into repair and we open ourselves up to be vulnerable. I understand that that can feel really, really hard. But especially after you've been slinging arrows and rocks at each other. Or if you feel like I've said before, if you have like this utter lack of oxygen, how can I give more in this relationship when I have had it feels like I have had nothing for a long time. But I want to make this work and I want it to be beautiful and better. Okay, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, okay, how can I enjoy the suck as much as it is and just get through it? No, don't settle for that. Do not settle for that. That's not your birthright. That is not the life that you should have. You should have that gorgeous dream connection and romantic relationship with your guy. And this is what we're talking about is getting to that. How do you get that? It's so crazy that it comes with softening, but it works. Okay. What this means is I'm staying, I'm here, and I'm choosing to open instead of harden. I just think that that speaks to so many of our hearts and situations. How many of us are living with hard hearts? How many of us feel like we're living with hard-hearted men? Wouldn't we like to see them soften and open too? Not in a feminine way, prancing around with flower crowns, but to have their hearts melt for us again, to have them drawn to us irresistibly again. That's what I want. And when you have that kind of magnetism, that connection, that type of relationship, wouldn't you do anything for each other? And wouldn't almost any situation in life be bearable because you have that? Isn't that what we are all searching for? Most of us, 99% of people are looking for that. Money does not provide that. Money is a useful tool. You bet. Don't we all wish we had a little more or a lot? But that is not the happiness. I remember, and I will never forget this beautiful lesson that I learned when I was 18 years old. I had the opportunity, I was so fortunate to have this opportunity to work with a small theater company up in Scotland. And I got to tour with them. We toured all over Scotland and England, performing in little venues, and it was such a cool opportunity. I mean, Scotland was just so beautiful. Absolutely loved it. But I tell you what, I was heartsick almost that entire time because I didn't have, and I mean, the people were lovely. They were so loving and warm and welcoming. And yet, I missed the people who loved me the most. I missed my family. I ached for a special someone. I didn't have anybody. I was dating at the time, and I kept at that time I was very connected with my spirituality, with Christianity, and I kept asking Jesus to give me a husband. Hey, that's noble. But at the same time, I felt really, really lost and I could not appreciate. I remember climbing up into the foothills of where I was living in these beautiful little foothills, climbing up, passing a little waterfall and this beautiful stream, and getting to the top and sitting down on a rock and looking out, the nice afternoon glow of the sun over the valley below, and feeling so lonely and sad. And I realized that you could be in the most beautiful place ever. But if you weren't with the people that really mattered most to you, then it didn't really matter where you were. That any place could be cool. The cardboard box. All right, so let's get back into it. So when we talk about choosing to soften, what this looks like is I'm choosing to trust his love even when it feels scary. I'm choosing to believe that we can build something better. I'm choosing to access my soft strength inside instead of my defenses. Because you can't repair a relationship with your armor on. Okay, and with that softening, it comes something really important. You have to put down the list, that the scorebooks, the mental record. And this was going to feel really uncomfortable and painful, but it's super, super necessary. You have to put down the list of what he did, what he didn't do, what he said, what he should have done. Because as long as you are holding that list, that scorebook, you are not building a relationship. You're continuing to build a case against him. And those two things are very different. It's like building your arsenal instead of planting a garden. Something that I learned from Helen B. Andelin, who wrote Fascinating Womanhood back in the 60s. It was a book that was in response to the feminist movement. And honestly, I love the original version. I think it's a hoot. I think it's great. I think it's powerful. It's probably very shocking to people because it's stringent in her belief. She's very rigid in what she thinks is right and wrong. And I think reading it as like, that's an interesting, it's also like a time capsule, just reading it that way and understanding the politics of the time and whatnot. That is helpful as well. But anyway, let's get into it. What she gave a really great script for what you want to do to deepen and enrich or repair your marriage. This is quoted from, it is The Fascinating Womanhood Vintage Edition by Helen B. Andelin. And it's revised and edited by her daughter, Dixie Andelin Forsyth. Okay, so here it is. I am happy that you are the kind of man you are. I can see that I have not understood you in the past and that I have made many mistakes. I'm glad you have not allowed me to push you around and have not been like putty in my hands, but have had the courage of your convictions. Will you forgive me and let me prove to you how happy I am that you are just as you are? That just makes me want to cry. I remember when I first said that to my husband 9 years ago, when and I had realized that I had put so much time and energy into so many other things, and I had neglected our relationship. And I expected, again, like a car that you never put any maintenance into. You just expect it to keep running through all the abuse you put it through. And it's like, well, come on, I thought I bought a car here. I was like, yeah, you have to take care of it. Just like a relationship, you have to take care of it. And when I realized that, and then I started reading, this was like my entry point, was reading this book. I had the original mass, not the original like first edition, but I had Helen B. Andelin's first book. But anyway, it was phenomenal to me about how much, when I realized how much that I had misunderstood men and had just been holding so much hurt and fear regarding men, and a lot of the idea of thinking that men are idiots. I mean, and it's just it's the same, like men thinking women are ding dongs as well, like airheads. Yeah. And women think men are stupid barbarians. Yeah. That's not very nice. Though there can be truth to those things. I don't think that I married a barbarian. I did not. And I don't think he married a ding dong. He did not. So we can just get past that and stop holding on to all these, falsehoods, really. Okay. So let me prove to you that that I can love you better. Wow. Wow. That's like a mic drop moment right there, even though it ended with a question. But to be able to say that to your guy and mean it. And even if, like, again, sometimes you desperately want the change, you desperately want the end result, but right now you're still dealing with a lot of the hurt or maybe even disbelief that this could actually even work. But when you really apply the principles to yourself, to your heart, and you start cleaning up your side of the street, it is amazing how magnetic you become, how beautiful you become to him again. how you become that lovely gal that he fell in love with at the very beginning. You haven't lost her. So after you say that thing and you mean it and you're going to work towards it, even if maybe you don't have all the feelings for it, but you're going to work towards it. Now what? You follow it with action. You got to do something about it. You got to start working on it. So here we need to talk about something that I think a lot of women are doing, like me, and we think that it's love. It's not. It's over giving. We are overextending ourselves. We are over functioning. We are always putting everyone else first because we are the nurturers. We want to keep giving to life and giving. That's how we're wired. And yet, we need to learn boundaries, right? And I want to say this with so much love that overgiving is not love. Nope. It's actually self-betrayal. Because what's happening is that you teach people to expect that from you. You create a dynamic where your needs don't matter. This is something that you are making. And then you feel resentful. You feel burnt out, unseen, and the worst part is no one is coming to stop you. No one's saying, oh, girl, sit down. You've been working so hard. Or maybe they'll say that once in a while and you're like, ah, finally, someone has seen me. I'm just so exhausted. Someone help. But and you say, I give and I give and I give and I give and yet nobody cares. Well, yeah, because you've trained them to expect that. You are the servant. Well, be the mistress of the house. Don't be the servant. It's okay. It doesn't mean the mistress doesn't take care of people and do things, but you have to also take care of yourself. And this is where self-care comes in. And it is probably one of the most important things that you take away from this conversation is that, and this is why we talk in this series, A Heart Called Home. The first one is about a heart called home to yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And that's not in a selfish way. My friend, it is not in a selfish way. And so often we are programmed to think that it is. You are being so selfish because you are sitting down. Do you know how much laundry there is to fold? Do you know how the dishes that are in the sink? And you're just sitting here? This is not meaning enjoy a life of sloth now. You rest your feet, princess, for 8 hours a day, and then maybe do 20 minutes of work. No, this is not that. This is about really, are you nourishing yourself? Because that is, you have to keep your vessel, your heart, your spirit well cared for. To be the best version of yourself, to hashtag live your best life, to be the woman that you want to be, you have to take care of yourself. How do you do that? And that's not your husband's job. It's not his job to take care of you in all of those needs. He has responsibility to you, yes. But you have to take care of you. It's like if you had a 7-year-old kid who was still asking you to wipe their butt. Like, kid, that's something you can do now. Okay? Yeah. Or getting them dressed. Like, they can put their socks and their shoes on. They can. We need to do these basic things for ourselves. And this is not meant to be degrading. Like, hey, wipe your own butt, girl. But it is kind of like, oh, yeah, yeah, yes, you know what? Yes, I do need to take, you know what means self-care to me? Going outside and going for a walk every day with minimal stress. Like, I can't eliminate bringing children with me all the time. Oftentimes, I have to bring at least one. And that's okay. And sometimes that means I have to do lots of negotiating because that's life. But I need to get out and go do that thing so that then I can have a better day for me. That's self-care. That does not mean you have to have a 4 hour yoga class and Pilates and do all these things and then get your manicure done. And that's not necessarily self-care. I mean, it's nice and you are investing in yourself, but talking up some of the basics. This is some other things that it may look like. Sometimes what it just means is taking a few deep breaths in the morning, feeling centered, saying, I am setting an intention for the day. My intention is to have a great day and to tell a joke to someone. Okay? Wow. Right? I think, like, what can we do to make ourselves happier? That to me is self care, right? Okay. I think I'm adding too many rights in. My apologies. I have the rights to write. What are other examples? Choosing my energy before the day starts, like it's like setting an intention, moving my body. I already said that. Getting out of my head and back into myself. So like just doing some movement. Those are like simple, that's self-care. Also, can I talk about feeding yourself? How many of us either forget to eat or just eat the leftovers on people's plates because we are so hungry and yet we don't have time to make food for ourselves? I often will tell my children, like maybe I've made them food and now they're requesting me to go play with them or take them somewhere or whatnot. I say, after I have eaten. And that is hard for me to say and for them to hear. But that may mean 30 minutes. 30 minutes for me to make something and then sit down in the sunshine if I can and eat it and enjoy it and not feel bad about it because that's self-care. Okay. This gets you grounded, regulated, connected to yourself so that you can show up differently you can show up nourished in your life and your relationship. All right, I want to share an idea that changed a lot for me. Men actually don't want women with no needs. They don't want a woman who is low maintenance, never asking for anything, endlessly sacrificing. They don't. That they want a woman that they can win with. And I know I've talked a lot with you about how this is a big drive for men is they want to win with women. This is if I was to create a course that made a lot of money, it would be a course for men on how to win with women. Because I think that would do a lot. Because men don't have an idea, especially with the modern women now, how to win with them. So what men really want, they want a woman who has desires, who expresses them and allows them the opportunity to meet them. That's not nagging, that's not demanding, that's inviting him into your world. It's so fun. So this this might be the hardest part for a lot of us. Receiving. Because I know for me that when my husband would do something kind or generous, I would often downplay it. Like, oh, you shouldn't have, or oh, that's too much, or we could have spent that money on something else. And what I didn't realize at the time was that where I thought I was being frugally minded because I care about our finances and our whatever. I don't really. Like, give me the presents. That's nice. I mean, I do. Sorry, Brian. I do. I care about our finances. I also like presents. But what I didn't realize that when I was responding that way to him, I was a rejection. I was rejecting his love. I was telling him that he was a bad giver, that he was a dumb giver. Like, why would you spend money on that? Like, oh my gosh, that is a fabulous way to shut a man down and turn his on switch off. So yeah, I did not mean to, but that's what happens. So instead, when he does things for you, he gives you things, he is extra thoughtful, he offers to do something for you, you say, thank you. Yes, That would be lovely. That means so much to me. I love that you did that. Oh my gosh. You are now a woman who can be delighted. You're a woman that he can win with. He's going to be looking for those items that you put on that table for him, those heart's desires that you are setting there, like, what else can I do? It's like, this is not meant to be mean, but it is kind of like Scooby Snacks. You are giving him Scooby Snacks by stating the desires of your heart. They're like, yeah, okay, well, what else? Whoa. When I know for me, when I start to do that, that's when everything changes. That's part of softening. That's part of our charm and our beauty as women. Like, and what man like is bothered by giving a woman who has this beautiful heart and a warm smile and is, you know, dressing herself up in her feminine. This man is gonna like, sorry, I have words to say. Kind of only like a ding dong would not want to do something for a woman like that. Yeah. So these are deeply motivating to men to make their woman happy. And when they feel successful in that, they lean in. And this is where the dynamic becomes really, really beautiful. He gives, you receive with gratitude, and then you receive and he feels successful. He feels successful. He gives more. Aww. And suddenly, you're not in the cycle of criticism, withdrawal, resentment. You're in the cycle of generosity, appreciation, connection. Yay! It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, wrapping this all up, if you have chosen to stay, or you are deciding you really want a richer, warmer, more romantic, dynamic, connected, sizzling relationship, this is your invitation. Treat your relationship like your forever home. Because if this is your home, how do you want it to feel? What kind of energy do you want inside of this? What kind of woman do you want to be inside of it? Because the work is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's about awareness. It's about choosing over and over again how you show up. And the truth is, you have more power than you think. Not to control him, but to influence the entire emotional tone of your relationship. And when you start using that power differently, everything begins to shift. If something in today's episode resonated with you and you're feeling a call to go deeper, I'd love to stay connected. I'm beginning to offer whole woman mentorship. This is a one-on-one intuitive support for women who are ready to realign with themselves, their marriages, and their motherhood. I'm also experimenting with a monthly Whole Woman Circle. It's a live, online, guided women's experience rooted in responsibility, presence, and coming home to yourself. You can learn more, join the community, and explore what's unfolding at wholewomanawakening.com. Until next time, may you feel supported coming home to yourself.